Welcome, jesters. All right, let's first talk about transit. So, I have been seeing on YouTube recently a lot of videos about a game called like Transit Builder or something like that, or maybe it's called Subway Builder, where the objective is to lay out a subway line or a transit system really on an existing metropolitan area, and it actually downloads population data and different districts and or zoning and all that kind of stuff for work, industry, and all that kind of stuff. And then the goal is to build a transit system, and then it fakes ridership, of course, right? So I saw a few of these, and I saw one about Miami, and yeah, no, it's not going to work, because the one thing these transit advocates and the bureaucrats apparently never seem to understand, which is why all the advocacy is just kind of useless. I'm sorry, it is. It really is you cannot lay a traditional rail-based transit system, or a shared transit system, let's just say that, on car sprawl, because the two transportation systems are fundamentally incompatible. And attempting to run rail out to the suburbs just won't work. And it's silly. So I'm going to say this. Stop. Right? Right now in South Florida, we really don't need to be building many new extensions to the metro rail. What we really need to be doing is building up the existing infrastructure. Start building around the metro stations. And that's actually happening, right? The thing is, it's happening, and they kind of know it, but they don't really know it, right? Because you go over to Douglas Road, there's a lot of new building around there, and that's actually how it's supposed to work. Transit, I mean, people dragged, I know, China. They would drag China for building subway stations out in the middle of nowhere, and then you come back 5 years later, boom, there's a bunch of residential complexes and everything. That's how transit has to work. You don't send trains into existing neighborhoods, you build neighborhoods around trains, right? As if the cars didn't even exist, as if the roads didn't even exist. That's how you build out transit, right? Because the point about transit system really is to take people from where they are to where they want to go. And you have to, in many ways, create that demand, especially from where they are. If you're talking about residential area, you have to actually build, housing. I can't believe I'm talking like this, but y'all know what I mean, around transit stations. And then you have to connect to the major destinations. So here in South Florida, the major destinations that it really needs to connect, and well, kind of does, the airport, Port Miami, Miami Central, which is where the Bright Line is, Brickell, because a lot of people go there. This new stadium is connected-ish. It's a bridge, people. Why is the bridge not ready, by the way? Right, the first game was, I think, this week. Now maybe it wasn't the first game, but yes, the pedestrian bridge, the easiest part of the build, not ready. Not ready. What is the excuse for this? They don't have an excuse. They never had an excuse. And get people to and from these destinations as fast as possible, right? With express trains, right? There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to get dropped off at either Dayland or South Miami, and, well, not South Miami because different video. Get dropped off at Dayland Metro Station, and, I don't know, 10 minutes later, okay, maybe 15 minutes later on a nonstop train, okay, it stops. It can stop at Brickell and Miami Central. Get dropped off at the airport, right? Instead, it's like an hour slog, stop after stop after stop. It's like 14 stops to MIA. Nobody's going to do that. So, a couple of things we could do, right? A, change the zoning around the metro stations. I think they already did that. Eliminate parking minimums around the metro stations. I actually think they already did that too. Second, switch to O&D pricing on the metro rail. And what I mean by this is you have to tap in, you have to tap out, but then you're only charged for the distance that you travel. And the benefit of this, though, is it will give them telemetry that they can use to plan service routes. Because right now, if most people board in, let's say, one of the Dayland stations and then ride to either Brickell or maybe the Bright Line, they only sort of kind of know this, right? But if you actually had this data and we could look at this and say, well, look, most people actually travel this route, why don't you have an express train, right? The fact that they haven't even tried since before the scam is, yeah, I mean, I know, everything's better in Florida, but we still have bureaucrats. So, anyway, so yes, O&D payment, right, only time and system, tap in, tap out, that will give them telemetry that we can use to pressure them into actually doing their job and providing a better service. The only metric that they should be looking at, when it comes to transit, if they want to get people out of their cars, is time in the system. How fast, average, can we get somebody per mile from where they tap in to where they tap out? That is it. That is the only metric. And you figure out the service patterns to keep lowering that, because there's no, like I said, Nobody's going to want to sit through, I don't know, however many, 15 stops and an hour to get to the airport. Nobody's going to do it, right? Yet somehow they have not been able to figure this out. I don't know. Right? So anyway, let's just do this. I don't know. This is kind of a little rant. I saw this game and I was like, you know what? It's not going to work, and all these games, they're just way too optimistic, and I know why they do this, because it gives them, oh, look, I solved the transit problem. No, you didn't solve the transit problem. I'm sorry. And, oh, by the way, I just want to point out that, when transit systems, like if they're done properly, right? If you build a transit system, you build around it, you create housing around it, you create, working space around it, you connect major destinations, like the airport, right? Or, here in Miami, the seaport, it can work and it can make money and it should make money. It should be profitable. Every transit system should be profitable, because any system that can turn a profit is an actual benefit to society. Any system that has to be subsidized is an actual drain on society. And I know all our leftist friends will start carrying on about, oh no, how transit, it's an investment in the region and it enables economic activity. Nope. No, that's literally not how it works. And all that pseudoscience that they use to come up with these numbers, it's just as fake as climate science. So transit should make money. And in actual functional transit systems, like over in Asia and even some in Europe, they actually do make money. Yes. And if the government wants to subsidize certain fares, then they can do that on the side. But successful transit actually makes money, and this is really something we should focus on. So we have a good start here in South Florida, and whatever these people doing the games, it's just not going to work. Let's focus on what we have. Let's change to O&D pricing, grab the telemetry, get people in and out of the system as fast as you can with express trains. And you know what? I did a video on one of the other channels about connecting Port Miami. Just try it. It's actually, somebody needs to be fired for this having never even been tried. I'm serious about this. People need to start getting fired. Well, anyway, we can have transit. Transit can make money, and you can actually get people to ride it if it's safe. Oh, by the way, yeah, it has to be safe. All right. So no more Irenas. And I'm right.